Guys, welcome back to another Echoes of Sunday podcast. I am one of your hosts, Cody Bershing, and a bit of an unfortunate announcement for this episode. We recorded an intro with our guest, Sydney Buch. I'm also, of course, joined by Logan Cook as well. But the audio file that we had for that video didn't really come out correct. So we had to re-record the intro, the rest of the video and the podcast. In the interview, it went really well. But yeah, for the intro part, the first couple minutes were just not there, or the audio file was messed up. We're not entirely sure. But I had to re-record the intro for this. And I know I already mentioned it, but today's guest is Sydney Buch. She is an incredible human being. She has many different responsibilities. She serves the Lord in many different vocations, and we're blessed to have her as our social media coordinator. So every video that we make on social media, everything that we post, just know it's been run by Sydney. She's the one posting that, and she's going to do an incredible job with that. She's already been an incredible blessing to the channel and to the podcast. So yeah, today's interview is with Sydney. We talk about a lot of different things. We hear really one of the most remarkable faith stories that I've heard thus far. It's very powerful, very moving, and I hope you guys enjoy it
Not
as
being
much as we do.
qualified is why you're the most
Let's get
qualified.
right back.
Oh, I love that.
It's kind of a side tangent, but both my dad and my uncle, they presented this past week on cross-cultural ministry, and both of them have said to me, I don't know why I'm the one here. But that's why they're the best ones, because they never thought that they were going to do this. They didn't think they would be prepared, but God has still blessed them to be in these spots. You haven't taken classes about how to do a podcast or how to do any of this stuff.
Nope.
You just have a zeal for the Lord and want to share the gospel with others, which is why you're the best for this job.
Do you know what your dad's reaction was when they asked him to do that?
He called me and he was like, "Do you know about this?" I was like, "Well, we kind of did something similar last semester, so yeah, it'd be cool." Because I've always thought it'd be cool if he would present about something. He's got a little bit of a different story, and so he was like, "I don't know why he asked me to do this. I'm just some white kid that just..." I was like, "Dad, just do it. You have had some really cool experiences." And so he was just like, the whole way through, the communication might not have been the best. And so he's always a little confused on, is he doing it? Is he not? But when it was locked in, he was like, okay, we're going to do this. And Monday night, we went to dinner. Me and my cousin, my boyfriend, and my dad all went out to dinner. And periodically throughout the night, as we were talking about something completely different, he would just stop and go, "But did I do good? Did people like what I talked about?" And I was like, "Dad, you did great." And I've still had people coming up to me. It's Thursday, and still people are saying, "That was the first convocation I've ever stayed awake for."
That's awesome. I do think that whole idea of like qualifications for ministry is so interesting. If you look at the 12 disciples, that maybe is the best example in the entire scripture of, I mean, it's a common quote, but God not calling the qualified, but qualifying the called. They were fishermen, tax collectors, who knows what else, and they completely changed the world forever, unified through the one message of Christ. And not that we're going to have the same impact at Echoes of Sunday as any of the apostles did, but I think if they were willing to take that chance and follow Christ and stand up for their faith, then I think it's the least we can do in our part as well.
It's a beautiful thing because you know then who gets the credit when you feel totally like you're in over your head. Like it's definitely not me. It's gotta be God. So it's a beautiful thing. But we're here to learn about Sydney. And
That was a solid, 5-10 minute just reflection on everything.
a little kickoff to the podcast. Yeah. But Sydney, the question that we ask every time on the podcast, what is your faith story? How has your relationship with God been throughout the years? How has it changed? Where is it now?
I'll start way back at my baptism. I was baptized in the hospital on my birthday, way back there in 2005. That's when the Holy Spirit entered my heart. And I just know I've been blessed so much since then. I was baptized in the hospital because I wasn't in critical condition or anything, but you never know what can happen. I was born with a cleft lip and palate, which basically means that I had an opening that connected the roof of my mouth up to my nose. My lip was open, and so was the roof of my mouth. So you never know what can happen. Things can change very quickly. Even from birth, I know I was blessed because the doctors knew that this was gonna happen. My parents were told at one of the ultrasounds, and my first revision to just close everything, I had to be 10 pounds. I had to weigh 10 pounds. And I was born 9 pounds, 6 ounces. And so I know that God blessed me even then. So I was born in September, but I was able to get my first surgery in December. And normally that doesn't happen. So yeah, so it takes longer than you think for a baby to gain weight. So yeah, I know I was blessed even from then. But I was born in Southwest Michigan. I was born in Kalamazoo. It was about half an hour away from where I lived in Dowagiac, Michigan. My dad was the principal at a grade school in that town, and my mom was just a stay-at-home mom. At that time, there was only my older sister. Then a little bit after that, I had my little brother and my little sister. But in spring of 2010, the decision was made to close that school. So my dad and my mom, they'd already talked about it, and that kind of lined up with my dad wanting to go back to school to become a pastor. He graduated from MLC in 2000. Then married my mom. His first call was out to California, and then he closed the upper grades there. Moved to Dowagiac, where I was born with my siblings. So I had a pretty normal childhood up until I moved states. I moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to our first rental home where my dad started seminary to become a pastor. And I know that I was very blessed to have the parents that I did, because I don't think anybody else could have done it except my mom and dad. And I know people do it, but my dad worked three jobs to make sure that on top of going to school.
3 jobs?
Yeah. He worked at Otto's Liquor Store. He worked at Garden Homes as the maintenance man, Garden Homes Lutheran. And he also did Bible studies at the church that we went to.
Wow.
So that's not as full-time as the other two, but he worked 3 jobs and still went to school.
Good for him. Wow, that is really tough.
But he was I remember him still being around a lot. He was still present.
Good for him. Wow, that is
Yeah.
really tough.
And he was always a strong spiritual leader in my house. And I'm very blessed to have my dad. I love him so much. And I never remember a time thinking I wish Dad was home more, because even with everything he had, he always made his family a priority. For kindergarten, first grade, I went to Good Shepherds in West Dallas, and that was a great experience. For those first couple of years, I had some awesome teachers, and it was just a great time. I met some of my best friends that I had in grade school there. I left for a year for my dad's vicar year in Howard's Grove, and I went to St. Paul's there, and then I returned back to Good Shepherds for 3rd grade.
It's got to be really difficult for a little kid having to go from one school to another, then back to the old one.
Little Syndey was a social butterfly, so she had no problems making friends.
Sounds like little Sydney's not that different than grown-up Sydney.
The one thing in 2nd grade was, if I wanted to be cool, I had to learn how to do a cartwheel.
Obviously.
So, because in 2nd grade, everybody knew how to do a cartwheel, so I practiced for hours in my backyard doing cartwheels. And God blessed me with the disposition of, it was never hard to make friends wherever I went. And it was definitely scariest. My dad got his assignment out of seminary between my 3rd and 4th grade year to Las Vegas, Nevada, which was just absolutely insane. I remember being picked up from school, and we were just in the van, and it was just silent for the first 5 minutes. And then my dad looked in the rearview mirror and said, "We're moving to Las Vegas." And my sister and I just screamed, because we knew what that meant, because we had seen movies. My younger 2 siblings didn't quite understand, but I was like, I am moving far away.
Wait, what kind of scream? Like a happy scream or a agonizing?
It was just a shock, like, oh my goodness, no way! Ah! Like the high pitched little girl, just excited. Like, I don't know how to react, but I think I'm excited. But it was definitely a shock because it was so far away. Because I'd moved around, and I am very happy that I had that, but it was that far away. That's, I think, 26 hours from home. That's what we would drive a lot of summers, was Wisconsin to Vegas. And we were there for 7 years. My dad was called to Summerlin Lutheran Church, and that was a great experience. The one thing about that was the Wells School that was out there had closed that year that we got there. And so I went to public school from 4th grade through 8th grade, which was definitely a challenge it was a blessing, but it was a challenge because I have such a strong childlike faith because my parents have instilled that in me of Jesus is my Savior, and we need to tell everybody about that. And so here's little Bible-loving Syndey in a school of kids who almost none of them in my class had any experience with church. And they would just make fun of me because I'd invite them to church. I would give them our Easter invitations, Christmas invitations, tell them to come with me, and I would just get made fun of.
How big was the school?
For the first week of school, I went to a school that had approximately 600 kids.
Wait, the first week you said?
For the first week, yeah. And being a social butterfly, I did pretty okay that first week, but it was definitely different going from this personal relationship with a teacher who I know loves me as a child of God to a teacher where I'm just a number to them. And so it was definitely hard. So right across the street was a small charter school, which a charter school is basically a public school. They just have a charter from the state that they can kind of do their own things with their curriculum. And so those were really big in Vegas and still are. There's a lot with multi-campuses all across the Las Vegas Valley. But I went to one. Not very good. It was targeted as a project-based school. The first, I think, 2 years I was there, we didn't have school on Fridays. Yeah, no school on Fridays. It was supposed to be at-home learning day. Parents were supposed to use Fridays to take their kids to do experiences and academic experiences out. Go to museums, go to different places, and just learn. But most parents still work on Fridays.
Right, I was going to say.
So it was, you sit at home, it's a 3-day weekend every weekend.
Win,
That
right?
was that was great, and it was project-based, so I did a lot of projects. I talked about my clef for Kingdom Come. I used that whenever I had a social or a science project. I would just talk about it in so many different ways because it's something fun. I've always been so excited to talk about it and learn about it.
It's something that not a lot of people know about either, I feel like.
Yeah, it's more common than you think it is, but I've only ever been in school with one other guy that has a cleft lip. When I was in 2nd grade, there was an 8th grader with a cleft lip and palate, and I thought that was so cool. Like, I was like, we are best friends now. This big, tall 8th grader who's already 6 foot, and me little, like, 2.5, 3 feet, 2nd grade Syndey. And I'm like, we're best friends. We're tight. And so, yeah, and my parents, we always saw it as a blessing just because a lot of people would let that hold them back. I'm damaged, not having very high self-esteem because I look different, things like that. But I always knew that I was blessed and that God knit me together in my mother's womb, and that's just how he made me. And so I was always very proud of that God made me special. I mean, we're all made special, but I thought I was made a little bit more special than other people because of it. But my first week at that school, it was like the icebreakers, and we were going around in a circle saying our name, and a fun fact about ourselves. And that's when I said, my name is Syndey Buch, and I have a cleft lip and palate. And the teacher kind of looked at me. She was like, "Aw, honey, why don't you share something else?" I was like, "What?" She saw that as a negative thing. And nobody had ever addressed it as a negative thing to me before. And so, no, I was never made fun of it for it, which is a blessing. I was never bullied for it. I was bullied. I always like to say I had to go to a yearly checkup with a psychologist. And I would say, especially when I got older, I wasn't bullied for my looks. I was bullied for my personality. But I had never really had that view on it before, that it was negative. And so I just said, my name's Syndey and I like grapes, which was hard.
Ouch.
It was hard. And I showed that teacher because just a couple weeks later, I did a full-blown science presentation on it. So I just owned it.
How old were you again when all this happened?
I was in 4th grade. I was like 9.
So that, to me, shows one of the strong benefits of a Christian education. Because you said before 4th grade, no one had ever made it a negative thing.
No.
And you had Christian education up until that point.
Yeah.
And then the first time you're in a public school, the teacher makes a comment like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
First week of a public school. Yeah.
First day.
First day
I was there. That was the same day that the teacher was teaching about the Big Bang. And I raised my hand. And I said, I know God created the world.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, we don't believe that here.
Oh, okay.
What's going on here?
This is backwards place?
Yeah, because I'm obviously in Wells schools, they will teach you about the Big Bang Theory, but we always look at things through a biblical perspective. So if we're taught about it, then we acknowledge that the theory's out there, but it's not truth. And they were talking about it like fact, and I hadn't learned about that yet because the oldest I was in the Wells grade school was 3rd grade, so I didn't even know about that yet. So it was definitely just like a slap in the face that she was just like, no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Which all of those types of things, all of those little comments, I think definitely made the strength of my faith a lot stronger. Because getting older in public school in 7th and 8th grade, I would have debates with my science teacher about evolution.
Good for you. Wow.
And the Big Bang Theory. Wow. Because he more or less would want to say, I'm the teacher, I know what's best. And I would say, no. I'm in catechism right now. I got Bible passages to back me up. So I definitely came off a little bit more confrontational than one should, because I'm just so confident.
It's so easy to do that, when you're young.
You're also, you're a teenager in 7th and 8th grade, yeah.
Yeah. But that was definitely, having those types of challenges in grade school definitely made me a lot more active in my faith, and it was a blessing to be put in that situation. For all of us kids, I know that we all came out of that a little bit different, and I don't think I would have learned some of the things or be the person that I am today without having those, because I think staying in a Wells school, I would have just gotten comfortable in my faith. I wouldn't have been pushed as hard as I was pushed by some of my classmates and teachers.
That's unique, because I think it's different for everybody, because I think there's people that their faith would suffer because of that. And like for me, mine did in high school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which we always just had a very strong devotional life at home as a family. Of after dinner, every single night, we had a devotion. And we were always around church. At home on weekends, we would always be at church because Dad had something to do, and Mom was his church secretary for a while. So we can't be left at home. It's kind of dangerous if we're left at home. So we all got to go to church. And what's there at church? Bible books. So that's what our weekends would be. Sometimes we would be smart enough to bring stuff with us, but other times it would be a spur of the moment. Oh, we got to go to church for something, and that would turn into 3 hours instead of 15 minutes. So I think my parents just did a really good job at acknowledging that we were all being challenged in our own ways and doing whatever they could at home to help keep our faith strong.
Yeah, can I ask what the home devotions look like?
It was a lot of, we used up until probably the end of my 4th grade year, we read out of the Eggemeyer's Bible story book. It's a blue Bible story book that I loved. That is what I will be reading my children. I have gotten my own personal copy, and it was just Bible stories every single night. And we didn't have a Sunday school program because we had us. And we had one other family, but they didn't come to church very often. So, especially as we got older. So my dad would do memory work for us every now and again. We would do memory work and other things, and we would be in church every Sunday, every Wednesday for Lent. And we would sing for church. We would be our own little Buch kid quartet, and we would sing for church.
That's cute.
And so he just still made the word the central part of our lives.
Wow.
And he always made sure that if we were ever having problems with things, we would just talk about them. He knew that we were being challenged in grown-up ways, so we would talk about grown-up things, like evolution and abortion. And I had some friends that struggled with sins and temptations of gay and lesbianism. So even from a young age, those were topics that we would address from a biblical perspective at home. And I don't think we would have necessarily had those same conversations if I would have been in a WELL school, because, at least at home, because my dad would have had more of the assurance that we were in a Christian environment. Because you never know what you're hearing at school. My little brother had a lot of problems with being bullied. So that was another thing that he would really like, making sure that home was safe for all of us.
Bullied because he was a Christian or just in general?
Just because he was a little twerpy kid. Okay. He was a smart kid. He liked school, and it was even from the teachers a couple years. There was one specific time that he was just struggling so much, and he never asked for help, so he was a little teary-eyed asking for help, and the teacher was yelling at him.
The teachers bullied him?
For being such a little wimp that he was crying. When this teacher had seen me cry multiple times over homework, because I also loved school. I liked academics. I wanted to be good at it, so it was frustrating if I wasn't good at it. And so there's teachers that just really, they weren't good teachers in general. And once I almost got physical with a kid because he pushed my brother. And I took him by the shirt, and I was ready to punch him. But a teacher broke us up and got mad at me, and I was like, well, he pushed a kid 3 years younger than him. That's not right. So really having just that peace that comes from God in the home too was really important for my dad.
Hearing that perspective is like so powerful to me, and it makes me think, because that was just not my experience growing up, really, because I was very sheltered in the Christian church and in the Christian school. And I've always wondered what it would be like if I had been in a public school and had those experiences growing up. And I mean, I would like to think that I would have handled it well, but I really don't know. It's just hearing how well you handled it is honestly quite moving to me, because that's just not something that I imagine many 13, 14-year-old kids being able to do. And really just hats off to your dad and your mom for the Christian household. That's just so important. And yeah, that was an amazing, amazing story and amazing insight.
The ability to have that safety, that feeling of safety at home, and to talk about pretty much anything, like anything that happened, and not to feel like you're bringing up something that's out of bounds or off limits or something like that is so important, I think. And if parents are going to create boundaries where it's like, okay, we can't talk about that. That's just going to push your kid away. And I don't think any parent wants that. But there are hard things to talk about for sure. But if you don't talk about it with your kids, they're going to talk about it with other people that maybe you don't want them to. So
Not only are you pushing your kids away, you're also inevitably pushing them into other things. Because if they're not getting the answers from you, if they're not able to have the conversations with you, then they're going to go and try and find other people to have those conversations with. And that might not be in the lens or in the light that you would want as a Christian parent.
And that even continued throughout high school and now college I will talk to my dad about almost anything. Even things that you might see as girl issues. Like in high school, I really struggled with the fact that I didn't date. And it would keep me up at night. That because everybody around me, I went to a small high school, so it was like everybody around me was dating, and I wasn't. And so it was actually my dad that talked to me about that a lot more than my mom, because my dad had similar feelings if he didn't date in high school. And so he could kind of relate, even if he is a guy. He would be the one that would be staying up with me at 2 a.m. when I am freaking out about this, when I don't need to freak out about this, because I'm a 16-year-old junior in high school. Like, I have the rest of my, I'm not even halfway through my life. So that's continued forward into my life, and I'm very thankful for that, that I do have such a good relationship with both of my parents, because I know that there's a lot of people that don't.
Were you able to have a network of friends at that school?
My main group of friends, especially in middle school, I was friends with a Mormon, a Catholic, a Jew, an atheist, and a kind of Christian, not really. I was definitely the one that was the most in my Bible, the most in my scripture. That was the one that really believed what she was preaching. We would have a lot of conversations about things. And the one that really stuck with me was, do animals have souls? That was the one that we went back to over and over and over again. Because I was like, I love my dog, but I'm not going to see her in heaven. She doesn't have a soul. I'm sorry. She's not the same as me. And that's something that they hated, was they were like, my dog has a soul. They're a person. No, they don't. And I would look in my Bible all the time to find passages that showed that we are above animals and they're not on the same level as us. And that was definitely of course, we're all 7th and 8th grade girls. We love our animals. That's what's on our minds, is our animals. So
that's what's on my mind as a 21-year-old college student. I mean, I hate that conversation and I hate those types of talks. That's not easy. And total moment of confession here. I was still whenever I see my dog, I'll go back home and I'll do Bible studies with my dog.
If you preach the gospel enough, it's going to get through.
No, I will, whenever I'm doing my evening devotion, I will literally have Bailey, my dog, sit on my lap, and I will literally just open the Bible and I'll read it out loud.
No way, my dog's name is Bailey too.
Whoa.
Really? Oh, what, is he a golden retriever?
No, I got a little corgi.
Okay. Corgis are pretty cute, I'll give you that.
Yeah. But it was especially because that was the time where my family got our first dog. So it was like, I love you, but you're just here to be a pet. And I mean, I think that I'm happy that I do have that thought in my mind. So when I did lose that dog in high school, it was sad, but it was a dog. It wasn't something that I didn't mourn Millie for months. I was sad for the first few days, and then...
Yep, life goes on.
Yeah. And of course you care for animals, but there comes a time where they're just, it comes to their end of their life, just like we have the end of our lives. And there's no need to try and spend thousands of dollars to prolong a dog's life.
You had good memories with your pet, and
yeah. That's a whole side tangent, but yeah, that was definitely something that we talked about a lot, and I think I won those conversations, even though they were conversations.
You won them.
Yeah.
That is the 8th grade mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did the January of my 8th grade year, I actually lost all of those friends because there was one night that I didn't have a phone, but I would text my friends with my mom's phone. And there was one night that one of my friends texted our group chat and she was like, this guy's calling us all fake friends and it's so horrible and da da da. And this guy had said that me, Syndey, was a real friend, and they were mad about that too. I was like, well, guys, he's an 8th grade boy. What does it matter? Like, who cares? We're all gonna graduate in a couple months, go to different high schools. Like, it's okay if he's not your friend. And they got really mad about that. I was kind of defending him without defending him. And the next day at school, they were plotting about how they were going to hack into his Instagram and just ruin his reputation.
So dramatic.
I was like, guys, what are you doing? And so I walked over to him at lunch and I was like, Tristan, they're planning on hacking into your Instagram. Just letting you know. And he was like, thanks. I don't really care. Because he's an 8th grade boy. Yeah. What he says doesn't matter. And so they got really mad at me for that. And they were like, F you. Why would you do that? You're so effing stupid. Like, I never want to talk to you again. So I had one friend for the last 4 months of elementary school.
Wow.
Was that difficult? Were you like, I'm good?
It hurt. But I knew that I did the Christ-like thing of warning and not ruining one's reputation. Just because he said something stupid. Because all 8th graders say stupid things. I know I said stupid things. So I knew that I did the right thing and that they weren't going to.
It's still got to be really tough, though, as an 8th grade girl, having to stand up for what's right when everyone around you, like this core group of friends that you've had for however long, is going a complete opposite direction.
I knew that in a couple months I was going to ship off to school in California and I wasn't going to see them ever again. I pray for them still every day because they were my friends for a long time, but I also knew that grade school was temporary. And I knew what I did was right. And I still had one friend that kind of stuck with me. She's gone off the rails now, and I pray for her too. But I knew that I was going to go back into the Lutheran school system for high school, so I was okay with it. It was definitely rough at the time, but getting into the end of the year, it was like, whatever, see you guys, I'm shipping off.
It's fascinating. I mean, this is what faith stories are all about, hearing the different, peaks in life, the different high points, and then the different low points. None of us would be who we are in the current day if it's not for both of them. So that's just, I think, just the word that comes to mind most often, just hearing your story thus far, is just like maturity. That's just maturity that can only be found through Christ, Christ in your own life, Christ in your home life, Christ all around you in church. And I feel like, is it fair to say that if you didn't have that relationship with Christ, then you wouldn't have been able to handle any of those situations as well as you did?
No, I was blessed to have that comfort of knowing that God's got my back. Of even if I don't have friends, I've got the best friend. And even if I don't have friends at school, I've got my family. And they are so much more important because they also know who is the most important one in our lives. And so being blessed with having such a strong light of Christ in our homes definitely is why I was able to handle some of these situations the way that I did. And I just feel blessed for it. I definitely wouldn't be the same person if I hadn't been out there.
So that happens at the end of elementary, and then you go off to high school. Yeah. What's that like?
There was the closest Wells High School, I believe, I never actually mapped it out, but I believe the closest Wells High School was California Lutheran High School. I'm pretty sure that one's a little bit closer than Arizona Lutheran Academy. But my sister, she's 3 years older than I am, and I watched her, she dormed at Calu. And I watched her start high school, and that was rough for her because her last couple years at elementary school weren't the best. But I had seen how she was terrified to go to California Lutheran. She would call home so often. I just want to go home. And my parents told her, just make it till Thanksgiving and then you can come home if you want to. But they knew the importance of having a Christian education. And so they really wanted her to give that a try. And by Thanksgiving, she loved it. And so I was so excited to go there and be able to go there with her because she lived away from home. I would see her for 2 weeks at Christmas, some Thanksgiving, spring break, Easter, and summer. Other than that, she would be at school. So I was excited to be able to live with her again, even if we were in separate dorm rooms, because they said that they would not put sisters together. Because they don't want to deal with sister drama. They're not parents. They're dorm parents, but they're not real parents. So it was really exciting for me to go there because I had never really had a taste of independence. I had only ever done one sleepover before. So that was definitely a challenge.
Sleepover every night.
Yeah, and so I've honestly had a pretty bad experience with roommates because my first one got upset with me because I was a little messy. I did really good at keeping that room clean for her, and that was not clean enough. So I switched roommates, and then I got an ultra messy girl of like she would leave food out for weeks on end, and it would start to mold. And so she left that semester, and then I was all alone up until COVID sent us home. But yeah, that was the start of my storied experiences with roommates, I'll say.
Was being all alone worse than the moldy food girl?
What a question.
I don't know what else to call her.
It was definitely hard because it was me and 2 other freshman girls in the dorm, and I had roomed with one of the freshmen. And then when we switched roommates, those 2 got really close, and I wasn't really in that group. So I would just kind of hang out with my sister and her friends. And thank goodness my sister loved me enough to let me always tag along with her and her friends were gracious enough to let me do that. But I think it definitely would have helped to have a friend, to have somebody, and to be used to living with somebody a little bit better. But I had a great couple years there, or a year there, not even a full year because COVID sent us home. But it was in that second semester, February-ish, my dad got a call to a little town called Benton Harbor, Michigan. Good Shepherd in Benton Harbor. And I was like, oh no. Is he going to take this? And he did take it. And I was just crushed in a way because I spent so many years being so excited to go to California Lutheran. And now I've got to transfer while I'm in high school. And I made some pretty good friends that were there too, and it was nice to have good Christian friends there. And that was a lot, especially because it wasn't just that, it was also COVID hit that weekend. That time. That weekend I had brought friends with me to Vegas. I don't remember why. I think there was like a choir tour, and none of us were in that special choir. So I brought them all to Vegas, and we were spending the weekend there. And we're hearing things are getting shut down, like stuff's happening, and then school gets shut down. And all my friends are in Vegas, and my dad's like, do you want me, he's calling all the parents, like, do you want me to bring them home early? And they're like, no, finish the weekend, have fun. Because nobody thought it was going to be that serious.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
And so then we took them back, and then that was it there.
Was the last time you ever saw him?
Priscilla Bame, she goes here. She was my friend one of my friends there. And then Alex and Rachel go to WLC currently. And I have gotten to see them a couple times. Definitely, not the same because went to different high schools and now different colleges. But if I see them, I'm able to have a nice little chat with them, which is nice. We had to move during COVID, back across the country. Yeah. I stayed a couple extra weeks with my dad because I still had braces, and I needed to get my braces off. It was planned for that time to get them off anyway, and so we were like, we got to get these off. So it was a super top secret mission of everything was shut down. You weren't supposed to do anything. But the orthodontists were like, yeah, you're moving. Don't tell anybody. We're going to come in and we're just going to take them off. And it was just me and the orthodontist and my dad in the office.
Wow.
And I got my braces off before leaving.
Are you gonna get like in trouble like leaking this on air over the podcast?
Nah. It was too long ago. As long as I don't say the office's name. But that was great because from second grade up until between freshman and sophomore year of high school, I had some sort of metal orthodontic work in my mouth. Whether it was a retention bar or an expander or braces or headgear or something. That was I had headgear for multiple years.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It was so great. I looked really scary.
Yeah, you do not need to share.
I won't share them.
You do not need to share it.
But yeah, my mom really liked to take pictures because it it was on the front of my head because I had an underbite. So they were pushing the jaw back, and so they were pulling my teeth, the top teeth forward. So it was on the front of my head, but it was just this wire thing with rubber bands, and it was so uncomfortable to sleep on. So we would wrap memory foam around the wires with some sort of cushy fabric on the outside. So I looked a little crazy when I would sleep for a few years. But yeah, that was great to finally get those off. And my dad and I, before we left, it was the day that everybody else left, we biked down the Las Vegas Strip because you would never be able to do that normally because there's always bumper-to-bumper traffic, so many people, because it's such a tourist place, but it was a ghost town where I saw maybe 2 or 3 cars. We were going up and down in the elevators. We were up on the, like, they have kind of, in some areas, 2 levels of walkways. We went right up to the T-Mobile Arena where they have concerts and where the Golden Knights play. And it was just this surreal, like, I am on the road biking. So that was definitely one of the top 10 experiences in my life. And to be able to do that with my dad was awesome. Yeah. And then we got to road trip all the way across the country together. Sweet. Just the 2 of us. Because everybody else had already gone to kind of get ready. And there was no reason to stay behind except for my orthodontic work. But that was another great time to bond with my dad. And yeah, leaving Vegas was definitely rough because I don't think I ever recognized the blessings until after I left, because all my family was in Wisconsin and we were always the one having to travel. And I always said, I want to go home. But I never realized how much of a blessing it really was to be able to be out there and be in the ministry out there. There were so many amazing people who loved and cared for our family like we were their own family. It was honestly a lot of Wisconsin transplants. They're retired, so why not retire to Vegas? So we had a bunch of different connections. We were Packer fans. We lived here. They kind of lived there, and so it was definitely tough because ultimately the church did close and has since opened as a mission restart under a new name. So it was tough, but I definitely miss it and the ministry that was out there.
Do you guys ever get to visit?
No, I haven't been back since.
Wow.
Which is kind of tough. I'm really jealous because MLC College Choir is visiting a church that is literally 15 minutes away from where I used to live. I'm like, oh, if only I could have made college choir, but nah. So, I really do pray that I do get to go back someday. I keep looking to see if there's a daylight trip. Yeah. Any time of the year, sign me up. I'm ready to go. But then, Southwest Michigan, basically not even Michigan, 45 minutes over the border, right next to the lake. Benton Harbor, little church, Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. If you look it up, you won't find it on Google Maps anymore because it doesn't exist. We've been there now since 2020, June 2nd, 2020, actually, to be exact, is when we moved in. And I would say that there's been a lot of blessings I went to Michigan Lutheran High School from sophomore year through graduation, and I think that God blessed me there in ways that I don't think I would have been blessed if I had stayed at California Lutheran. I think he knew that I needed to live at home for high school. In ways that he knew that my sister needed to live on her own a little bit, he knew that I needed my parents. So blessed there, and I found some really great friends. I have 8 of my classmates up here on campus, which is pretty cool. That's a third of my graduating class. Is up here on campus with me, which is really special. I say that Good Shepherds doesn't exist anymore because now we're Beautiful Savior. My dad closed Good Shepherds, and another church that was about 2 miles away, St. Matthew's Lutheran, was the mothership congregation for almost all of the Wells churches that are in that area. It was open for, I want to say, 125-ish years.
That's got to be some difficult conversations.
Yeah, it really was. The pastor that was there took a call, I think, the February-ish after my dad got there. So he served as a vacancy pastor for almost a full year. And there was a lot of conversations of calling or not calling, merging. Merging was the clearest thing, I think, in my dad's eyes. Because the congregation was very small. They had 25, 30 members that would come to a Sunday. The church was a beautiful building, but it's fallen apart because there wasn't anybody there that could really do any maintenance on it. So, and up for a really long time, they still had German services too. Wow. They had German services.
They must have been one of the last congregations in the synod.
Yeah, they were one of the last ones with German services. My dad did not do those no. So it was February, my senior year. I think it was February, my senior year of high school. It was before that we took the vote of both congregations to close St. Matthew's and Good Shepherds and to merge and to create a new name. It was really hard because there's a lot of emotional connection in the area of St. Matthew's. A lot of people in the area went to the grade school that they had. A lot of people at one point in time went to St. Matthew's, had grandparents, great-grandparents that went there. And so it was really hard to say goodbye because there was so much emotional connection to the building itself. But there was a couple times where my dad, at least to me, he said that he just has to remind these people that faith isn't the building. Faith is in Jesus. And it's not the place that you worship. It's the word that you worship with. So it was hard to say goodbye to that building. But a Good Shepherds was definitely just in better condition overall. And we've done renovations since, but it's hard to say goodbye. There was standing room only during the closing service of St. Matthew's, just because so many had such a connection to it. And so now we've been Beautiful Savior for, I think we're going on 3 years. We created the new name, New Church, because we are a new church. We're not Good Shepherds that absorbed St. Matthew's. We're Beautiful Savior. We've joined to create one congregation. So we've been doing great ministry. Since then, there's been another church that closed, and a lot of their members decided to come over to us. We do every Sunday almost every Sunday Bible study, and we have a great amount of the congregation that stay for that. The past couple of summers, something cool that we've done is a lot of churches do a garage sale, but we've done a free giveaway. There's a lot of people in the community that are in need. And so there's a lot of garage sales all the time, but there's a lot of these people that it's a take what you need. If we get the past couple of years, we've gotten a ton of really great donations, and it's just, if you need it, take it. And so that's been a really cool thing to see, is that there's been a couple families that we've heard their stories of, we needed it. Like, we've lost everything. And so just to be able to go, new dishware, wow, this is awesome, and do nice stuff too. It's not just thrift store stuff. So that's been a really cool thing. And then doing an outdoor worship service the day after, just to say, because then it's an easy way to invite them to church the next day. Like, hey, same time tomorrow, come join us for worship. And we have had a couple come to that, which is cool. And just always finding new ways for ministry. We do live stream our services on YouTube, Facebook every Sunday too. But I know that my dad's done a lot of work there, and it's definitely been a lot of fun to see the differences in ministry that were in Vegas to now in Michigan. The other thing that I think is funny is where I live now is a half an hour away from where I first lived in Michigan. I mean, my parents just think it's kind of fun because we've moved so much that we've all been able to now. Most people are born in the same state and graduate in the same state. But like my older sister is born in California. We made our way back Midwest. Never would have thought she would have made it back there to graduate from high school. Now I've been able to graduate from Michigan. I was born in Michigan. My brother has too, and my little sister will in a couple years. But yeah, there's just been a lot of blessings in Michigan. And I know being at home, I've been able to do a lot of things that I never would have been able to do if I was at California Lutheran. Got my driver's license. I was able to have a summer job that I've loved. Kilwin's Chocolate and Ice Cream Shop.
Wow, that sounds really actually a fun job.
That's got to be busy in Michigan.
Oh, yeah. And especially because it is just a walk down the hill to the lake. So you get a lot of people over summer. And I've been blessed because the owner there is a member at one of the other Wells congregations in the area. His son was one of my high school classmates. Okay. Wow. So he knows me and he knows my family really well. And I'm blessed with having that. And I'm blessed that we work in an environment that every so often we'll have some pretty good religious and faith-based conversations. Because we have a wide variety of religions there too. A couple Catholics, non-denominational. Andrews University is based out of Berrien Springs, and they're a really big Seventh-day Adventist. And we got a couple Seventh-day Adventists even that work for us, which is pretty cool. I've never been able to talk with one. So hearing about that is definitely cool. And even the people that don't have a connection with God, they just ask questions. And it's fun to be able to be the one to answer those questions. Even if they're confused about things, I can do my best to not say something heretical and just let the Holy Spirit work through me.
No, I think that's one of the most fun things about growing up and being a Christian is that maybe when you're young, your whole life you're surrounded by Christians, and so this is just normal. But then when you get into the world, and not everybody believes this, and they have questions, you're like, oh my gosh, I get to actually share this with somebody and let them know how great this is. And maybe they don't, accept it. Sometimes that's the first couple times, maybe it's a little bit of a...
Especially doing that from such a young age in grade school, I'm just very excited when I do have those conversations because I feel like I've gotten a lot more comfortable in my faith. Because in Vegas, I was constantly being challenged, and I was always in the Word, and sometimes I just get comfortable in the fact that, because I'm surrounded by so many Christian people, that sometimes that slips my mind of, I got to read my Bible today, and have that personal devotion, which, I think that it's just different. I was very conscious of having to fuel my faith every single day in Vegas, where now I need to be better at that, which is one of my struggles. I'm working to get better at that. Got a couple devotional books. Getting better at opening my Bible as I'm getting ready in the morning and just taking a few minutes, even just to read Psalm and just meditate on that and say a little prayer. I'm just building myself up to doing longer devotions.
It's interesting you mentioned the Psalms because I've noticed personally whenever my roommate and I have done Psalms devotions once in a while, and we read through it together, and then we talk about the things that stick out to us first, but then it's like happens every time too. It's almost like magic. Like you just sit in it and you just read it over and over again, or read this one verse and just think about it and meditate on it and ponder it. and then it just starts to open up. And in ways that you didn't think it could, like when you first read it. But you just sit in it, and it's like you just are sinking into this deep well of wisdom and peace, and it's honestly astounds me every single time.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of Psalms that we keep coming back to. Psalm 23, Psalm 121, of those are the ones that I know. The word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. The Lord is my shepherd, that I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Those are the ones I just know. Mm-hmm. But there's all these other ones that I want to know better. And so taking the time to just read through all of them. And honestly, same thing with Proverbs. I know Proverbs are a little bit more random.
Proverbs are fun, though.
Proverbs are cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just read through Proverbs 31 for the first time with one of you guys, Ella, one of my friends. And it's the first time that I ever really sat down and looked at it. And really looked at what it means to be a strong, God-fearing wife. And that really sitting with that and seeing that and talking about it with somebody else that's in the same stage of life as me is just really cool. And so I try my best to just read even just a little bit. It's definitely being here, having to take Bible history and literature 1, 2, and 3. I've now read my entire Bible, but it's getting into those nitty-gritty things and really pondering them and not just reading them to read them and skimming them just to say that I read them so I can mark it off my list of actually sitting down with it.
It's not like the Bible's written at like necessarily a super easy level to understand in all cases. I mean, there's some very deep meaning, deep context, deep theological understandings in really every book. So I think like what you said about reading through the Psalms, Logan, is sometimes you just need to get through that first like barrier. You need to like remove that first roadblock in your way, and then once you're able to do that, everything else just kind of falls into place, and then you're able to understand more and more and more. And yeah, Proverbs is definitely like that's a very fun book to read. Actually, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah. The other thing that I looked at a couple weeks ago with Ella was better to sit on the corner of the roof than to have a quarrelsome wife.
Yes, there's like multiple of the quarrelsome wife ones. It's so funny.
My dad really likes to reference those and make those into jokes.
Oh no.
But it really, just really sitting and looking at it. Someday it is going to be so easy for me to make my husband's ministry miserable. That even looking at it from my perspective, that shows me that I'm going to have to be very intentional about being able to bring him joy. And so that I also found interesting. But it's fun to have those little devotions with friends and just sit and ponder those things together, because bouncing off of each other, it's things that like I never would have thought of.
Christian support in the home is just so foundationally important for anybody, but especially for called workers and pastors and teachers, staff ministers, whatever it might be. When you're out there in the field, like you are dealing with some messed up situations, and things will make you want to cry. They'll make you want to scream, and they will just absolutely rake you to the coals, rake you to your very heart. And when you come home, you need to have a safety net that you can just trust and feel comfortable, feel loved. And if you have that, it makes the world, just a world of difference in your ministry. And I know I've talked with my parents about it. Like, they go through highs and lows in their marriage just like any other married couple does. And they're both called workers. And they've both told me on several different occasions that the periods that they struggled with the most in their ministry usually coincide with the periods that they struggled with the most in their marriage. And then vice versa. When things go really well at church or they go really well at school, it's usually because they have things right in the home. So it's all tied in together. It's all so important that it balances each other out.
The fact that everything you do influences everything else that you do. Like the things you do for yourself, which are, if you want to work out, you can work out. If you want to eat healthy, if you want to have a devotional life. I know for me, last semester, those things seem like, okay, we'll get to them if I have a chance. But if I have homework or things like that, those are going to have to be in the back burner. But when I stop and think about it, it's like those are the things that fill me up. Those are the things that make me feel like, okay, I'm ready to take on the day and help people and get the most out of it. And so just filling up your cup before you can go out and pour into other people's is a huge deal and not something that you should take for granted.
I mean, that's you talked about filling your cup. How can you fill others' cups when your cup is empty? You know, you can't give others 100% if you're running on 0%. So it is just foundationally important. I will also say too, and maybe this is like a little niche or not exactly like copy and paste what we're talking about, but something I've been thinking about a lot is we just started a new semester at school, and we're all three of us are extremely busy right now. I mean, Echoes of Sunday is just one of our many responsibilities, and you're juggling all these different things. And yet, as busy as I am, I don't know if I've ever been closer with God than I am right now. And I was thinking of something that Jacob Atruba said. He was a guest on one of our earlier episodes. He said that when things are difficult, when he's stretched past the point of comfortability, that's when his relationship with God is the strongest, because he has nowhere else to turn but to God to give us strength. And that's something that's just really stuck with me, where you can be very busy as a pastor, as a teacher, as choose any job you want. You can be extremely busy, and yet sometimes that's when it's easiest to, focus on your relationship with God and go to him in prayer. So
I would agree. I have a lot going on. I am helping out with Echoes of Sunday. I am a soccer player athlete with spring soccer starting. I am a campus photographer. I manage social media for campus, and I'm co-producing the winter play on campus, and I'm a student, and I'm a daughter, and I'm a niece, and it's just figuring out how all those roles balance. But I would definitely agree of, even though I'm so busy, I still feel like in these times I find myself praying more, thinking and saying, God, I know this is all in your hands. Everything will work out. And I take comfort in that, even though I'm really stressed and running from thing to thing all night long. But I definitely would agree that I feel like it's been making me more thankful for the time that I do get to spend in the Word. I'm very thankful that we have chapel twice a day, that I can have that time, and I still make myself have time for my personal devotions either in the morning or at night. Even if it is just a few minutes, I know that I'm building up towards having a more substantial personal devotional life.
It's definitely a process of growing. You grow into it, and it's never going to be perfect.
maybe to wrap up here, since it seems to be kind of where we're heading anyways, we always like to wrap up with devotional life and what your devotional life looks like, what you found works for you, what you found doesn't work for you. What does that look like for you? We're just really curious to hear what you have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I really struggle with finding devotional books that I like, because there's a good amount of them that fall into how is this making me feel, and it's not about how I feel, it's about what God has already done for me.
Can you elaborate on what you mean by how it makes you feel?
I want to formulate a good response.
No, you're good, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a decent amount of devotional books that I just pick up in the store and I'm looking at, and it's just kind of like joy, or this makes me feel good to read and happy, and it's talking about things that might not necessarily, I don't know, sometimes they just ignore sin too, and that's on me for not looking into them more. I need to ask my dad for more guidance on good devotional books to pick up, but I find that a lot of them, I want more law, because I recognize that I'm a sinner and I need law. And so that's on me. I need to take a better look at those. But right now it's just a lot of reading my Bible, and getting into the Psalms and looking at them, taking an extra look or two throughout the week on the lectionary readings that we've had for this Sunday. Just take an extra look. Sometimes I'll find myself cracking open. I take sermon notes for every sermon. And something I started while I was in catechism. For catechism, I had to take them, but I just find that I don't focus. I'm just sitting there looking at the pastor, and I'm not focusing on what he's saying and really taking it in. So taking notes helps me to be an active listener. So I think I'm on my 6th or 7th notebook of just sermons. And I take them during every chapel service too. And so I'll find myself cracking open one of those, and looking at one of those sermons and going to that reading to help guide me in thoughts. I know where a lot of different things are in those notebooks. I know where my dad's specific sermon series are. I know where the specific sermon that really stuck with me is in this specific book, because that's one that I just keep coming back to. And a very well-worn section of my Bible is Matthew 6, because I find that I struggle a lot with anxiety and worry and stress in my life. In Matthew 6, who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? Yeah. Look at the birds of the air and the lilies of the field. God takes care of them, so he's going to take care of you. Seek first his kingdom. So I come back to that a lot. And Luke 12 is the same thing. Don't worry. So I open those sections up a lot, even if it's not for devotion, and even if it's just to read and say a little prayer. Just because I got a lot of stuff. So I find myself stressing about all that stuff. So just seeing that for comfort.
Yeah, I don't know about for you, but for me, sometimes I'll read those passages and they're so comforting for me. And then I'll put my Bible down, and then the first thing that hits me in the day is something that I start to worry about. It's like, oh, shoot. Man, wow, what did I just read? But one of my favorite verses from that section is, I think, sufficient for the day is its own trouble. So just deal with today's trouble. You can't do anything about tomorrow's trouble.
Which, with everything these past couple of days, I've had meeting Tuesday, meeting Wednesday, stuff Thursday, stuff Friday, stuff Saturday. So I keep thinking, if I can just make it through the day, and then I remember all the stuff I got to do tomorrow. And if I can just make it through tomorrow. But I've got all that stuff the next day. And so definitely working harder on taking those to heart of just today is today. Tomorrow will worry about itself. It's definitely something that I work on every single day. Because it's so easy to look at both planners I have, because one isn't enough to keep everything straight, and just worry about all the stuff I got to do. But I know that if something slips, then that's okay. God's got me. If I get fired from something, God's got me. I can only do my best, and I can only do the best with the gifts that God has given me. And yeah, those are definitely the two parts of Scripture that I love the most.
I think repetition is definitely a very, very valuable thing when it comes to studying Scripture. And for me, I don't know if I have a specific section of Scripture that I go back to pretty consistently. For me, that takes shape more with songs. I think I've listened to Is Anyone Worthy by Andrew Peterson probably 20, 30 times in the last 2 days, because it's genuinely just that powerful of a song to me. As a college student with however many responsibilities I have right now, it can be really easy to get lost in all the individualized requirements and obligations that I have. But when you listen to a song like that and it refocuses you on what truly matters, every single time I listen to that song, I just feel rejuvenated to get back out, to record another podcast episode, to write another devotion, to study more languages. It's so powerful. And I really do think that repetition and having certain verses, certain refrains, certain prayers even that you can just go back to and really drill home. It's a incredible blessing for sure.
Yeah, I pray that I can be like that Jesus freak that Toby Mac sings about. What would people say if they hear that I'm a Jesus freak?
Yeah. I love that song. That's such a fun song.
That's a great.
I want to be known as that. Yeah, that one, especially the one that Josiah Queen has come out with him. I find myself cranking that, windows down, sunroof open over summer of just, I'm a Jesus freak, and I want to be known that way. That's a lot of encouragement. And I also like the Forrest Frank song, God's Got My Back. That's a pretty good one too. Man broke his back and made that song. So, yeah, music is definitely a big. I want to get more into more Jesus music, as I call it.
Yes, please do. Please do.
So send me leave a comment down below. Any Jesus song suggestions?
I can literally send you a list of like 200. So
Yes.
that's basically all I listen to. We do. Actually, one last thing before we wrap up. If you really are like looking for like Christian songs, Echoes of Sunday theme song is pretty good. Our intro music, yeah. Which I think we're running those now for our episodes. So
What a plug!
so yeah, shout out Jacob Bergstrom.
Shout out Jacob Bergstrom.
I think that's gonna do it for us, guys. We could keep going all day. God is so good. We could talk about so many different things, all aspects of his character, and we'd never be able to press the stop button. But I think that is sufficient for today. I think,
like you said, we're all busy.
yeah.
So
But just thank you again, Sydney, for coming on. It was a really, really powerful faith story. I know you a lot better now than I did beforehand. I have that much more respect and appreciation for you. And I think I speak for both Logan and I and all of Echoes of Sunday Ministry, all that entails. Just thank you so much for helping out with us. You're an incredible blessing, and we can't wait to work with you for, God willing, the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and I'm happy that I can help out. I'm happy that I was able to do this. God's blessed me with a big mouth that likes to yap, and I know that yapping about myself is the easiest thing, I guess. Sometimes this was probably a bunch of big jumbles, but I like to think of myself as somebody that can yap about some good things. So if you ever see me in the hallways and have any questions about anything, hit me up. Literally, I like to talk. I'm nice, I promise. I might just be running between things with a camera, but
literally anything.
My philosophy with the podcast is if I say enough things, eventually something I say has got to be good. So you're just throwing darts at a wall here. So
yeah. Hopefully there's one takeaway.
yeah. Well, thank you guys. We appreciate everybody listening, everybody that's been supporting us. God willing, big things coming here in the next couple of weeks for Echoes of Sunday, and we'll keep you posted on that. But until we meet again, until we talk and join together in God's Word again, blessings.